Okay, story time. This is a good one. I went on my first date from the Hinge dating app just a couple days ago, which I guess is kind of like a blind date, right? So grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your drink of choice, and let's settle in for a fun little story time. My name's Regan, also known as the Easy Ex-Wife, and welcome to my colorful life after a gray divorce. This is where we talk everything from divorce to dating to just living single in your 50s and beyond. All right, welcome. Let's give you a little update on our girl. There's Fiona. So as you can see, she still has the cone on, but her eye looks really good. She goes to the specialist tomorrow, and there go my glasses. Sorry, did I startle you? And hopefully there'll be no more cone after tomorrow. That's what we hope. So hopefully after this video, you won't be seeing her in a cone again, but she is doing great, and she's kind of snoring with her eyes open. I think the snoring seems extra loud because of the cone, and she can't get in as comfortable a position. Anyway, let's talk about the date. So I mentioned this guy in one of the other videos, and he was one of the first people to, I guess you call it, like on Hinge, and he was very cute, and we started conversing through the app, and then he asked me out on a date, and he's from New Jersey. I live in New York City, and so he was taking the train in, and he said, he was coming into Penn Station, so he picked the restaurant, and I said, well, why don't you pick someplace in Hudson Yards, because that's about 10 blocks from me and probably about 8 blocks from him, from the station. Anyway, somewhere kind of in the middle. So he picked a restaurant, and yeah, I looked online just to see, like, did he pick, like, not a dive bar, but something super casual, or, in New York City, sometimes the restaurants can be really fancy. And it looked like it was a pretty nice restaurant. So I planned on dressing up, and I thought that would be fun, get all dolled up and go on what is kind of a blind date, even though I had seen some pictures. But we hadn't spoken, so I didn't know what his voice sounded like. We had only communicated via texting through the app, and I didn't give out my phone number, which I don't plan on doing. And there was a Knicks game that night, so he had texted me and told me his train was running about 15 minutes late. And I said, no problem, just I'll see you when I see you. And I headed over to the restaurant so that I knew I would get there early, and it was a crazy windy night, like 40-mile-an-hour winds. So by the time I walked there, like, my hair was just like whoosh, a mess. So I had time to, like, go into the bathroom and freshen up and make myself look good. And I did look good. I was, got all dolled up and had on heels and a dress. And so I sat at the bar and ordered a water and a cocktail, but decided not to really start drinking the cocktail yet because, I wanted to have my wits fully about me, like when he walked in. And it was on, like, the 25th floor. So where I was sitting, I could see the elevator. And he had left a message saying that he was walking, so I knew he would be there any minute. So when the elevator doors opened and he got off, I could definitely tell it was him. So that's a good sign, because I think I mentioned in another video that some of my friends complained that sometimes the guys didn't look a thing like their pictures. But this guy looked like his picture. I knew it was him. I got up off my bar stool, and we gave each other a nice hug. And when he was closer to me, he looked a little bit older than his pictures, but at least I could still tell it was him. So we sat at the bar, conversation was flowing, it was easy, we were laughing. Was I attracted to him? Kind of. I don't know, a little bit. But it was very, very enjoyable. And after a couple drinks that I drank really, really slow with water in between, this date was going on for a long time. And we, like I said, the conversation was flowing, no problem. Well, he wanted to get some food. He was hungry. And again, this was a pretty nice bar. And, everyone knows prices in New York are crazy. But I had no problem with that. I had eaten a little something before I went because I didn't want to be hangry. And also I didn't know, if I wasn't interested in this guy, I wasn't going to sit through a meal. But so we just got a couple appetizers and I just kind of nibbled on them, and we were just talking, and he started saying like how great this date was. How he's been on so many dates from Hinge. He's been on it for over 8 years, which, is that a red flag, you guys? I kind of thought it was one. But the whole time we had been talking, we didn't really talk about work. We talked a little bit about kids, sports, politics, not long, because that's not a topic I want to stay on very long. And just random stuff, living in New York, him living in New Jersey. And then, I finally just said, oh, I see that you're in IT. Do you like it? How's that going? And he said, well, this may be a red flag. Now listen, if someone says this may be a red flag, it's a red flag. He said, I was laid off during COVID and I haven't found a job since. It's been a long time since COVID. And the only reason I know about this industry is because that's what my ex, that was his industry. And he's bounced around from working for really big companies and then working for startups. But he's always had headhunters like knocking on his door. And it's really common for that industry to just kind of bounce around to different jobs. And so for him to be in that industry and still be out of work since COVID, I thought, well, then, he was in sales. I thought, well, he cannot be very good at sales. And to be good at sales, I also think you just have to have a likable personality. And so it was definitely a red flag for me. I was like, oh my gosh. And he went on to say, then he started talking about how he just doesn't have much money and he didn't date a girl that used to go to the Hamptons every weekend because he just couldn't afford that lifestyle. And listen, I am not looking for someone to take care of me. I work. I love my work. I don't plan on stopping work. But there's definitely something, what's the word? I don't know if unsexy is the right word, but to me, that's pretty loud snoring. But to me, someone being out of work for that long, definitely a red flag. And then, then it comes time to pay the bill. And I take out my credit card and this is going to sound bad too. He just didn't fight me at all on paying the bill. I mean, we split it. We split the bill. And you guys out there, let me know. I was talking to a friend in my building and she's like, if a guy doesn't pay the bill the first time, I don't go on a second date with him. And I don't know, like this is someone I just met, so I didn't think that was that big of a deal. But again, I want to hear from you. Guys, I want you to tell me too, like, do you just plan on splitting the bill? It was something I just didn't really think about before the date. And then, it was just habit. Like if I go out with a friend, we both take our credit cards out. So we just split it down the middle. And that was fine. Didn't think much of it, although it was, really stupid expensive for food that I didn't think was that great. But anyway, moving on. So then we leave, and before we left, we both ran to the restroom. And then we met up, and I was much faster in the restroom too, and I put on lip gloss. And so I was waiting for a while. And then he comes out, and it was so awkward. Like he came to give me a hug when I wasn't ready for it. And at that point, I'm holding my purse and I have a jacket draped over my arm, and I get kind of caught up, and it was awkward. And I was like, oh, okay, we're hugging. And it was long. And we're in the bar, just like a public place. And not that I wouldn't hug someone in a public place, but I probably wouldn't hug them for that long. And, it would have to be someone that I knew pretty well. So we ride down the elevator, and we get outside, and he had already looked at like the train schedule and to see like when he would catch the train home, because like him coming over was definitely not an option. Even if he had a job, that was not going to be an option. And I knew that going into the date before I even met him, because that's just not who I am. And so he had some time to kill, and I said, okay, well, we can walk around. We could, I said, I think the High Line's closed, which is if you guys have not been to New York City, or have been to New York City but not walked the High Line, definitely something to do. But we were right near the High Line, and they actually do close it at a certain time. But it's really cool with lots of sculptures and beautiful flowers. And I don't know how long it is, but probably a few miles long. They don't allow dogs, so I can't really go there with Fiona. But it is a really, really cool place to walk, especially if you do it early morning or later in the evening, before they close. Because if you go midday, it can be really, really crowded, especially on the weekends. Okay, anyway, so we just kind of walked over to the High Line, saw that it was closed, and then we just start heading in the direction of like where my apartment is and where Penn Station is. And he grabbed my hand, and it caught me off guard, kind of like the hug. And I said out loud, like, oh, we're doing this? Like, we're holding hands? And he goes, is that okay? And I said, I guess. I'm not a huge hand holder, and that sounds awful. Maybe that's something I need to become. My ex and I held hands, I guess in the early stages of dating a little bit, but not very often. And then as our relationship grew, we would hold hands maybe if we were on vacation or it was icy out. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. As we got older, maybe we held hands a little bit more, like especially if I was wearing heels. Or I would hold his arm, like he'd always offer his arm, or he'd grab my hand, or, we would hold hands like at dinner, across the table. So I'm not some, prude who doesn't even want to hold hands. And I don't know if prude is the right word, and I haven't said that word probably since high school, or even heard anyone say that word. So the holding hands felt a little awkward, and the whole time we were holding hands, I just kept thinking, I don't really want to hold hands. But so then, I told him I'd walk around with him, but it was like all of a sudden something changed after that hug and hearing he didn't have a job and the holding hands. we got to the corner where he would go straight and I would go left. And I think he thought I was just going to keep walking the way he was walking, but I stopped. And oh, the story gets better. So we stopped and I said, you know what? I'm really tired. I think I want to head home. And he was like, okay, okay. And he turns towards me and I was like, oh God, oh no, is he coming in for a kiss? And he did. And so we just did like a peck. Like I wasn't, just kissed me on the lips. And then I turned my cheek. So then he would get my cheek. And he goes, is that it? And I said, that's it. We just met. And I proceeded, and then I said, thanks for a great time or a lovely time. And I ran across the street. And it's funny, I ran across the street. If you've been to New York, you know that everyone jaywalks around here. Like, you don't wait for the light. But there were cars lined up ready at that light. And the red hand had stopped blinking. But I still know you have enough time to cross. Had I had Fiona with me or my kids, no, I wouldn't have crossed. And, you know, I had to pick up the pace too. And I was in 3.5-inch heels. So I just couldn't get away fast enough. 3.5-inch heels, ran across the street, and I don't know. Maybe I am not ready to date because I did not want to hold hands with another man. I did not want to kiss another man. I mean, hopefully it was just this man in particular, but I had one date off of Hinge and I think I'm going to take a break. I don't know if I need to be on dating apps right now. And maybe I wanted this date to mean more than it actually did. That's what I think it is. Like, I think I played it out in my brain before the date too much. And I thought, oh, I bet nobody's ever ended up with the first person they went out on a date with. I don't know why I was thinking like that. I'm sure that it has never happened, or very rarely. And I should have gone in with lower expectations. I knew that was the right thing to do, but I love love, and I wanted it to be amazing and fireworks and, you know, a kiss on the street corner. But, oh, that was another weird thing. Like, we were on a pretty busy street corner. Like, I'm not going to make out with someone right there on the corner. Although maybe if it was someone I really wanted to, I would have. I don't know. Let me know. But crazy date. And then it was such a gorgeous night. And then I walked home and I came in and I took Fiona out for a walk, and we walked a little bit longer than we normally would. But it was like, you know, 11:30 on a Saturday night, and streets were buzzing and it was warm and everyone was happy and in a great mood. And so that was a great, great way to end the evening. That kind of started out great and then went south really, really fast. That is the loudest snoring. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story. I loved telling it, and I want your feedback. What do you think? I really think that I just was trying to force something that just wasn't right. And when I realized I wasn't feeling it, you know, I just listened to my instincts. Tell me, bring it on. Give me the feedback, positive or negative. I would love to hear it. All right, you guys, that's it. I can't wait to see you next time I see you. Mwah. Love you. Bye.